Hi! So, I'm Kitty.
I'm Jacqueline.
And this is Whatever Tickles Our Fancy.
Yes, it is.
I was just you did not give me a script for this. I'm making this up as I go.
I'm sorry. We should probably maximize it to make sure it's actually still recording while it's minimized.
But
it's okay.
I minimized it.
Yeah. Is it still going?
Yeah, it's
okay. We're good.
We're fine.
Okay.
Fine.
Second chance at an intro.
Oh, okay. Hi.
We're Tickle Our Fancy. That one's better.
No, whatever tickles our fancy.
Damn, yeah.
Whatever tickles our fancy. So, basically we've decided to make a podcast where we just talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to listening to us be ridiculous, talk, pretend to be interesting.
Yeah. We're trying to confidently do what cis white het men do on podcasts all the time.
Which is talk about nothing.
Talk about shit, whether we know about it or not.
Yeah. Here's my opinion.
Yeah.
On shit I don't know anything about. Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah.
So, we decided that we would use a random word generator to determine the topic for our podcast, video thing, whatever it is. And today's word...
We're literally on randomwordgenerator.com. And today's word is control.
Oh, that's...
Should I show it?
Control. All right, so where do you want to start? You want to go dark?
I like that you immediately... She immediately dives into dark.
I mean, we could... There's a lot of dark stuff with that word.
Go for it.
But we could go light. Control could be, What? I'm saying we could. I'm asking. I value your opinion.
Sounds like you're controlling this podcast.
My bad. I will try to relinquish control. Either way. Okay. Dark. So we already mentioned white, het, cis men. So we could talk about historic instances of control and how that has affected the development of our society and our society today.
And who is able to control what happens and goes on.
Control in general.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a weird, there are levels even in our society of control. The government makes laws which control some people, but not all people, depending on how much money or power you have.
Yep.
For instance, speeding tickets. If you've got millions of dollars, you don't really care about the $750 you're going to pay for $750 you're going to pay for your speeding ticket in your Ferrari. But the guy, toddling along in his 12-year-old, Ford that he needs to last so that he can make it between his 3 jobs. That $750 is a big deal.
Tax-wise, you have these big CEO trillionaires, Jeff Bezos, of hardly having to pay any taxes, and they not only have a dominance or control in that area, but he's fucking controlling, how we buy and sell goods. Ultimately, we have given that control to create the monster that Amazon is now. We're not worried about ever being sponsored, are we?
No. I don't think that's ever going to be a thing.
Well, that's good. So,
knocking a few people off the list
right
at the beginning.
Right at the beginning. No Amazon.
But, I mean, because there's a level of control that comes with that regular people will never experience.
Yeah.
Because literally the laws that are made by the government to control us don't apply to certain people, just are understood that they don't apply.
And then we could also go in my yoga-y direction of truly what does anyone have control over? I mean, there's not really much that we actually physically can do, literally right now in this moment. Things we have control over
are in theory very limited. Although, and I know that yoga blends itself into, or doesn't blend itself, is from, a Buddhist practice, and Buddhist ideals, where the idea of control is the source of all of your own strife. The idea of want, which is a form of control, the need to own something. But I still would hesitate to say that, like, because the amount of things I have control over is going to be far better than, that somebody who looks differently from me, makes less money than me, or lives in a different part of the world from me. Like, I don't have control over a lot, but I've got clean water, which may not be true. And, even places in this country. We've lived in places in this country.
Flint, Michigan.
Chinle, Arizona, where the access to clean water isn't a thing. So, not that I don't agree with the Buddhist principles or anything, but...
Control and being in control of certain things is not necessarily bad. It's when that obsession kicks in. That's the negative aspect of it. When the things we feel we need to control end up controlling us, which is that, I think, the balance with the concept of control. There are certain things you do have influence over just by existing. You are moving things that are around you. You are affecting the world around you. But if you become dependent upon that control, or find your self-worth or fulfillment in that control, that can become an issue. I think.
This took a weird turn.
It did.
This took a strange turn.
Fuck Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, seriously. Sorry, but yeah.
Not sorry.
Yeah. I mean, wealth is such a, like... I was actually talking to somebody earlier today about the fact that wealth is entirely a cultural construct, and one that we created for ourselves to control ourselves.
I have a direction we can go in.
Okay.
This is something, it's Pride Month, and one of the things that I've been thinking about is how helpful labels are. And can be, and then how limiting they can become because they don't fully explain or encapsulate one being. And sometimes there's a lot of gatekeeping or control, especially in regards to different titles of what makes you what makes, like...
Are we diving into the fallacies of our own gay community?
not necessarily, but I do think like a light needs to be shown on that like we need to be careful and open-minded about, not saying you can't or you can be or do something. That's us controlling who's allowed to be gay. Or queer.
Or enough. Queer enough, gay enough, butch enough, trans enough. Which is, like, it is a difficult topic. Not difficult in, but it's so layered because you've got the historical aspect where you've got people who fought literally with their lives for the progress that we've made today. And then you've got our generation, which had it a bit easier, but like, I never thought I'd see gay marriage. I definitely grew up with the idea that I would never marry someone of the same sex as me and have it legally recognized. And then you've got my nieces and nephews' generation where gender is starting to, like, not be a thing. So in a very short span of time, because all those people are still alive. There are still people walking the earth who were at Stonewall.
Yeah.
It's not like that's some remote history or anything. Like, those generations are all existing together and trying to define what our community is within itself. And so, of course, generationally, and then gender-wise, and then money-wise, socioeconomics, and then you're going to have all these difference of opinions, all these different voices saying what is this and what is that. And we don't want to give up that control either, because we worked so hard to define the queer community.
To exist.
Yeah, just to exist. Just to be recognized as a space outside of heteronormative culture that doesn't constantly need to be hunted down and destroyed. But it has turned into, in so many different ways, gatekeeping about who gets to come in and who doesn't.
Yeah. It's weird too now I'm a millennial, and so it's weird to not be the younger generation.
We're not
We're in the middle now.
Yeah.
It's a weird place to be.
We're the middle children.
Yeah. I don't like being the middle child.
Welcome to my life.
Yeah. And I think it's worth noting too, like, you know, taking a step back and taking a minute, because there are definitely times when I hear Gen Z say stuff and I'm like, wait a minute. And again, taking a breath for myself though, and being like, okay, I don't want to treat them, Gen Z, the way boomers treated millennials. So,
because there's definitely, like, I've met gay people who were fighting for gay rights in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, who definitely look down on, you guys had it so easy, you know, like, you never experienced the kind of hate that, you know, that I've dealt with, you know, on a daily basis, and blah, blah, blah. And while that is true in some ways, and then not true for some people in certain sections, well, I'd like to say it's
well, I mean, the internet is a whole other world and realm of hatefulness.
But just because, you know, like, it doesn't, you shouldn't be devalued. So in nursing, we call that eating our young. We have a tendency to, like, older nurses see nurses now who chart on the computer, and it takes 10 or 15 minutes to do your daily charting, if you know what you're doing. A little
bit of shade there.
a little bit of shade. These older nurses who have, you know, who remember what paper charting was like and what it was like to have to, like, keep track of stuff with a pencil and paper, and feel like younger nurses haven't earned their way in. They haven't been through the same trials, so they don't, you know, like, they don't stand up to the same scrutiny that older nurses do. And we call that, like I said, eating our young. And I see that same sort of thing in the gay community
perpetuating
sometimes.
trauma. But, your feelings can't be valid until you've had it as bad, if not worse than me. Yeah. And that's not how that works.
That's unfortunate.
Anyways, so you wanted to go dark, and I took it.
Yeah, you did, like, way down. But I mean, I do think there's hope. Like, we, you know, because as those generations move on, and intersectionality,
you got there,
was not a thing.
Yeah.
In the 50s and the 60s, even in the 70s, it's really not where it should be even today. But it's a topic that we are discussing. We're trying to figure out how to make space for people of color and trans issues, trans men, trans women, people who are non-binary, like, making room under the umbrella for people that had categorically been excluded up until now. So I mean, things are better. Like, we're moving in the right direction, but yeah, we're definitely still doing a lot of, like, especially white gay men are doing a lot of gatekeeping. And then in the lesbian community, we're doing a lot of gatekeeping about our butch women, about our definitions, you know, like, our own internalized misogyny. A lot of
we all have a lot of unlearning to do.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things with being a former teacher, learning about, you know, if you were educated in the United States, you have a racist point of view of history. That's what we teach. That's what's in the textbook. It's not even just individual teachers. It's in general what is being taught all across the United States, and
it's not only racist, it's wrong. Like, I can't explain how many times I corrected my own teachers.
Oh, you were one of those.
I was one of those as a kid. But just pointing out that, like the shit that we teach is not correct. Like, the way that we talk about how the slave trade worked and, you know, and stuff like that. I can't tell you how many times I got into, not fights exactly, but was asked to leave a classroom because I was like, no, what you just said is wrong. Like, it's not just like, oh, that, you know, that viewpoint isn't correct or is problematic. It's just like, no, what you just said is blatantly not what, like, it's not truthful. Like, because the facts are uncomfortable. The facts, you know, play out a narrative that we'd prefer didn't exist. Because the Americans can't play the hero in all the parts if we tell the truth about our own history.
Wow, that was deep. That was a good quote. We should write that down.
We recorded it.
That's great. I love it. Get it. We should download Twitter. Create a Twitter page.
A handle?
A handle.
Is it a handle?
And then
Twittered.
Write out our
tweeted.
That's another episode.
Yeah, okay.
Tweeted is right.
Tweeted? Okay. Oh, I know that because it's in Moana when he writes out when you use it with a bird. It's a tweet. Shut up. Anyways,
so one more super dark place to go with control, and I'm just gonna say one word and let you dive in. Religion.
Oh. Okay. So we're never getting sponsored, right?
Never.
Okay. So that I have beliefs. I consider myself a spiritual person. I know that you may or may not share those
and
beliefs.
I respect those beliefs.
Thank you. And I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who have all kinds of different religious beliefs or spiritual beliefs on all kinds of spectrums. But the fact of the matter is that religion in and of itself is created for control. That is the only... We're gonna go hard.
Go.
Like, in every part of history, in every reiteration of every new religion, old religion, religious practices, the point of religion is control of the masses, of each other, of societal expectations, and we can get as far
and of the money.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so much of the money. Although it's not really about the money so much as it was about the power. But money and power, they follow each other because, like we already said, money's a fucking construct. So it doesn't actually exist.
Are you censoring yourself?
Oh, okay. Money's a fucking construct.
There you go.
So
we're not kid friendly either.
Okay, yeah, sorry. We should have put that at the beginning.
We'll add it in.
And yeah. So the only reason we created money was so that money could reinforce power with control. This is weird. Yeah. I've never even thought about some of this stuff.
I love it.
How it fits together. But yeah, and so we'll stick with Catholicism. I was raised Catholic. I can pick on my own religion.
Yes, you can.
So
I was hoping we would do that. I trusted you. She was doing what I'm thinking.
So if we look at the Catholics, the first Christians, there are going to be people who are going to be real angry about that.
My Southern Baptist ancestors are rolling in their graves right now because they don't consider you Christian at all.
Yes, but they wouldn't exist if Catholicism hadn't started the ball rolling down to those
But
Christians.
Jesus. Go on.
Yeah. Anyways, so Jesus dies, leaves behind a sect of followers of him and his teachings. Horribly persecuted. I will give them credit for that. Horribly persecuted in the area where they lived, both by Judaism and by, you name it, anywhere they went, until the Roman emperor converted. Do you remember which one that was? He's in the Bible. Roman... I should know this.
I should know this.
Yeah, whatever. We're failing. Poor Jesus. So, anyways, Roman guy converts. All the Romans are now Christians.
Yeah.
Well, what builds out of that is what becomes the Catholic Church. And if you if you follow the rise from that point on, the Catholic Church stops being a church very quickly and becomes a political power all on its own. And they have their own fucking country. Like, their own country that diplomats have to, like...
And they built the roads.
Yeah.
So, that, I mean, that's what spread it.
Yeah. Like, yeah, literally.
To move their armies and to move their faith.
Yeah. Like, literally and forcefully. In very terrible ways all over all over Europe. So we spread and we spread and we spread. But... Yeah, and if you've never done any research on this and you don't believe what I'm saying, you should do some research because it's very disturbing. The way that the popes treated themselves from the, let's say, the 1200s to 16, about when they broke with, when England broke with them, the whole thing started to break down. It took a couple hundred years, but the control it had over Europe started to dissipate at that point. Thank you, Henry VIII. So
created a whole new beast.
Yeah. But that entire building of the Catholic powerhouse of Rome, what's the name of the city in Rome? The Vatican, and and the Pope's spreading of Catholicism across Europe was all about control. No, I'm gonna roll that back. It's all about power, which then, in order to maintain power, you need control.
Yeah.
So, and unfortunately, what that looked like was the witch hunts and Spanish Inquisition and slavery, and because you don't actually need it, but the easiest way to control people is fear. And so you make somebody the enemy. I mean, the Nazis knew this. You make somebody the enemy, and you focus everybody's energy and hate, and everything that's bad in your life is because of witches, because of whatever. Your crops are failing, your wife left you, like obviously somebody cast a spell, and then you find those people and you burn them. And that's how you maintain control, because on one side you've got people who are enormously devoted to you, like in order to have a taste almost of that power. And then on the other side you've got the people who are so afraid of having the finger pointed at them, oh, she's a witch, that they'll never step out of line. So yeah, and I picked on Catholicism, but you give me a religion and I can do exactly the same thing with any religion anywhere, except possibly Buddhism. But Buddhism, tells everyone that it's not a religion. It's not a lifestyle. That feels wrong. But there are areas of the world that has adopted Buddhism. Maybe not still, but at the time used Buddhist teachings to commit not good, not fun things. And I don't have enough information to like specifically point fingers at anybody, so I won't like...
Except the Catholics.
Except the Catholics. I know what I'm freaking talking about when it comes to the Catholics. But yeah, there's no religion. And then cults, they're all exactly the same in that wanting of control, that, or that needing of power, that the needing of maintaining power leads to a need to control your masses. So, and then cults are just pre-religions, depending on whether or not a Roman emperor decides to join up. So, yeah, we can get... Okay, so here's a... switching topics a little bit. Is control a good or a bad thing?
Neither. Because control, I don't think control is always bad. Again, back to talking about, in therapy, one of the things you talk about is what are the things you can control right now? And
Therapy
again,
is good, by the way.
letting go of the things that you cannot control or change. And so I think to have no control over anything or refuse to take control over things when you should take control over things, that's a whole different issue. To be too passive is a problem.
And then you'll probably end up in a cult.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so then control is...
So, for example, I would say like a positive answer or response to, or example of control is when I was teaching, I had control of the classroom.
Yeah.
And that was not a bad thing. And actually my students were significantly happier and felt safer and more comfortable because that level of control was there, where sometimes they'd go to classrooms and it's just chaos and there's no control there. And that's when you have both mental and physical things happen that are hurtful and harmful. So like that is definitely having that level of control where again, I don't need, like I didn't go on a power trip for having that control though either. Because again, there's that balance of I am confident, I am in control, I can manage this. And that's a positive.
So that's sort of the idea of the benevolent king there. Like the control is necessary, but in the right hands, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yep. And I mean, again, you need people to have control of different either situations or things. I mean, when you're working, you have a lot of control and responsibility comes with that control.
Yeah. Because it doesn't work otherwise. I can't keep my patients safe. I can't treat anyone well. Like if I don't have that level of like, you stay in your lane, this is my domain, and I'm in charge.
I think control takes a level of thinking. I don't think you can have control if you don't. Like, I don't think you can inadvertently have control.
I don't know if I agree. Trump.
So, I think he thought about it. I don't agree with his thinking.
Okay, all right.
But, like, he wanted power. He wanted, and he is very manipulative. Yeah. Like, he has some intelligence in order to do that. Like, you have, not that it's a good, not all intelligence is good. But, and I mean, he's a narcissist, which is the definition of control.
So then what we're talking about is you can't really, like the character in a book who like ends up in charge but doesn't really want to be there. That's not really a thing that happens.
Well, you have to take charge. You have to take control. Well, but you don't get to be a main character in the story. If you're Yeah, but I think it takes a level of thinking and responding to be in control. It's an active role. It's not a passive role.
That's fair. Saying. Huh. Okay.
1 point, Jacqueline.
I didn't know we were keeping track.
I'm just like analyzing the word control. Your turn now. That's what I think it's something that has to be consciously done.
Okay. This was a weird word.
Yeah.
This went strange places.
It did. I think we should end on one more lighter version of our idea or concept that goes with control.
We could talk about BDSM.
Fuck yeah, we can talk about BDSM. That's the kind of light ending I need.
Yeah, there you go. I paved the way for you.
No, you go ahead. You brought it up.
I don't have any, I'm vanilla.
You are so vanilla.
I am. Shut up.
You still know things, though.
I know things about lots of things. It doesn't mean I should be talking about them. I don't have any experience.
I mean, so I think a positive way, because again, like we were just talking earlier about the movie 50 Shades of Grey and how that's an awful representation
of BDSM.
Of BDSM, of control, of power, and how that works in a consenting and, loving relationship, because in the movie they were supposed to be lovers, and not that all kink relationships have to be loving. But, so I think the whole relinquishing control and allowing someone else to have control, because ultimately, at the end of the day, if you have a dominant person who has the control and a submissive person who is relinquishing control, even with the relinquishing of that control, the submissive person is ultimately the one in charge. Because as soon as the submissive person says, I'm done, or red, or I don't want to do this, the dominant person doesn't get to say no.
Yeah, true.
You know, like that is one of those, you get that ultimate red card.
It's definitely a role-playing thing, because the person who's in control is not actually, like, setting the boundaries. Because the moment that the submissive revokes consent, like, it becomes a very different thing if the dom keeps going. So,
but that can be something that's very fun to play with on both ends. On the idea, because I don't think giving up control is a bad thing. It's actually quite helpful, especially, like, I like being a secondhand man. I like being, like, let somebody else lead the way and be in charge. And I don't need to make all the choices. I don't need to have all the control or the power. But I do like, you know, assisting and helping.
So, in a BDSM control play, that's more about trust than it is actually about control. Because nobody has legitimately relinquished control. You've stated that you have enough trust in your partner that that you can give up autonomy to them within very defined parameters. And if you're not defining your parameters, you're doing it very wrong, and you should stop and read a book and figure out what you're doing.
Tell them.
Safe sex, people. Safe sex. Both physically and emotionally.
Yeah. That was good.
Cool.
That was a good ending.
That was a better place to stop than the Catholics.
Yep.
All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed talking about nonsense.
About whatever tickles our fancy.
Yeah. All right. See you next time.